Most men spend their lives believing women are complicated, impossible to understand, and unpredictable. That's the excuse they use when they can't get what they want. But let me make this clear. Women are not as confusing as you think. They're just not responding to you because you keep approaching them the wrong way. Here's the controversial truth. Women give men what they want almost every time, but only when those men know how to position themselves the right way. If you're constantly ignored, rejected, or brushed aside, it's not because women don't know what you're asking for. It's because you've failed to earn the influence that makes them want to give it. See, women don't respond to begging, chasing, or pleading. That's why so many men lose before they even begin. They put themselves in a weak position, hoping she'll reward them for effort, when in reality, women are wired to respond to confidence, leadership, and clarity. When a man carries himself with certainty, when his words match his actions, when he knows how to set boundaries and create desire, women naturally comply. Not because they're being manipulated, but because women respect strength. And respect is the gateway to influence. This isn't about tricks, lies, or manipulation. It's about understanding psychology, mastering communication, and holding yourself to a higher standard. A woman can't help but respect a man who respects himself. And when that happens, you'll start noticing how often she bends towards your direction, not because you forced her, but because you led her. By the end of this, you'll understand why most men never get what they want, and why those who do rarely have to ask twice. Confidence is non-negotiable. If you want to get what you want from women almost every time, confidence cannot be optional. It has to be the foundation. A woman may entertain a man without confidence for a short while, but she will never respect him, and without respect, you'll never get what you truly want. Confidence is not about shouting the loudest, acting arrogant, or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about being unshakably sure of yourself. Women can sense when a man doubts himself, and the moment they detect insecurity, they stop taking him seriously. Confidence creates authority, and authority creates compliance. Think about it. If you walk into a room unsure of yourself, fidgeting, speaking softly, avoiding eye contact, no one feels compelled to follow your lead. But if you walk in grounded, with a steady presence, and speak like you mean every word, people lean in. Women are no different. They want to feel like they're dealing with a man who knows exactly who he is. 1. I once saw a man approach a woman in a bar. He looked nervous, stumbling over his words, and she politely smiled before quickly excusing herself. 10 minutes later, another man approached the same woman. His posture was relaxed, his tone calm, and he carried himself like he had nothing to prove. Within minutes, she was fully engaged in conversation, leaning toward him, laughing at his jokes. Same woman, same setting, two completely different outcomes. The difference? One man radiated insecurity, while the other projected confidence. When you carry yourself with confidence, women naturally respond. They listen when you speak, they respect your boundaries, and they're far more likely to give you what you want. Without it, you'll always find yourself begging, explaining, or trying to prove your worth, things that never work in your favor. Confidence is not just attractive, it's magnetic. And without it, nothing else you try will matter. Clarity beats games every time. One of the biggest mistakes men make with women is trying to be vague, hoping she'll pick up on the hints. That never works. Women are not mind readers, and mixed signals only create confusion. If you want something from a woman, whether it's respect, affection, attention, or commitment, you need to communicate with absolute clarity. Clarity shows strength. When you know what you want and can express it without hesitation, you instantly separate yourself from the majority of men who dance around their desires. Women are naturally drawn to men who don't waste time with games. Why? Because clear communication signals confidence and leadership, while vagueness signals fear of rejection. Clarity also sets boundaries. When you clearly express what you expect, a woman either rises to meet it or shows you she won't, which saves you time and energy. Most men don't get what they want because they never clearly asked for it in the first place. A man once told me he kept getting friend zoned by women he liked. I asked him how he approached them, and he admitted he would hang around, buy them things, listen to their problems, and hope they would eventually realize he wanted more. That's not clarity, that's avoidance. I told him to stop playing the role of a friend and state his intentions directly. The next time he met someone, instead of hiding behind vague gestures, he told her he was interested in her romantically. She respected his honesty, and whether she said yes or no, he was no longer stuck in limbo. That shift alone changed his results. When you're clear, you don't just eliminate procrastination in relationships, you eliminate confusion. Women can't give you what you want if they don't know what it is. Speak directly, state your position confidently, and you'll be shocked at how often women respond in your favor. Consistency builds influence. If you want women to take you seriously, consistency matters more than almost anything else. Too many men are hot one day and cold the next, strong in their words, but weak in their follow through. Women notice these cracks instantly. When you show inconsistency, you send the message that you can't be trusted, and trust is the foundation of influence. Think about the times you've met a man who talked about his ambitions, but months later, he was still in the same spot. Or the men who promise to call, plan, or commit, but always find excuses when the moment arrives. That's the same energy women experience when dealing with men who lack consistency. And here's the truth. A woman can be intrigued by your confidence and impressed by your clarity, but if your actions don't line up with your words, she won't give you what you want. Consistency is what separates men who only get attention for a short time from men who command long-term respect. Women test men constantly, not because they're cruel, but because they want to see if your actions match the image you project. If you're only reliable when it's easy, she'll assume you can't be counted on when it's difficult. You know this feeling because it applies everywhere. Imagine a friend who shows up when convenient but disappears when things get tough. How much respect do you give him? Now flip that to relationships. A woman will only invest in a man who proves, through consistent behavior, that he means what he says and stands where he claims. Getting what you want from women isn't about one grand gesture. It's about proving over and over that you are who you say you are. Confidence may attract her, clarity may engage her, but consistency is what convinces her to take you seriously and give you more. Stop begging, start leading. Too many men destroy their chances with women because they approach from a position of weakness. They beg for attention, over-explain their worth, or constantly ask, "What do you want me to do?" That behavior doesn't inspire respect. It kills it. Women don't give men what they want when those men act like followers. They give it when they're dealing with a man who knows how to lead. And this is where a lot of men need to wake up. If your entire strategy is pleasing her, you've already lost. Pleasing a woman doesn't make her love you more. It makes her comfortable with you doing all the work. That's why so many men complain about being used. You gave everything away without asking for anything in return. Leadership doesn't mean controlling or dominating. It means direction. It means being decisive. Instead of asking, "What do you want to do?" you say, "Here's what we're doing." Instead of waiting for her to create the energy, you bring it. Women respect men who know where they're going because it shows strength. Strength creates trust, and trust makes her far more likely to give you what you want. If you've ever felt drained in a relationship, chances are you've been begging instead of leading. Begging tells her you're replaceable. Leadership reminds her you're rare. So stop handing over all the power. Stop acting like she's the prize you're lucky to have. You are the prize too, but only if you act like it. The moment you step into leadership instead of desperation, you'll notice how quickly women stop resisting and start responding. Respect yourself first. The final key to getting what you want from women is simple. Respect yourself before you expect respect from her. A man who doesn't value his own time, boundaries, or goals will always struggle because women mirror the way you treat yourself. If you tolerate disrespect, you'll receive it. If you allow chaos, you'll live in it. Respecting yourself means setting limits and standing firm on them. If you tell a woman you won't accept a certain behavior, but then allow it, you've just told her your words don't matter. On the other hand, when you enforce your standards without hesitation, women notice. They may resist at first, but deep down, they admire men who don't fold. Respecting yourself also means prioritizing your life. Women are far more attracted to men with purpose than to men who orbit around them like satellites. A man chasing his goals, protecting his energy, and refusing to settle communicates power without saying a word. If you want women to give you what you want, you need to show them you're not desperate for it. The moment you prove you're willing to walk away rather than compromise your respect, you shift the balance in your favor. A man who respects himself doesn't have to chase, he attracts. The most uncomfortable truth is this: women don't resist giving men what they want. They resist giving it to the wrong men. And the wrong man is the one who lacks confidence, avoids clarity, fails to be consistent, begs instead of leads, and doesn't respect himself. If you're missing even one of these, you'll spend your life frustrated, wondering why she never gives you what you ask for. We've previously mentioned that confidence attracts, clarity engages, consistency builds trust, leadership creates respect, and self-respect seals the deal. Put those together, and suddenly, getting what you want from women becomes almost effortless. Not because you tricked her, but because you've positioned yourself as the kind of man she can't help but respond to. Now, here's the controversial part. Most men who complain about women aren't actually angry at women. They're angry at themselves for being weak. And until they fix that weakness, no strategy, no line, and no trick will ever work. I want to hear from you. What's the biggest struggle you've had when it comes to getting what you want from women? Drop it in the comments, and I'll reply to some of you directly. And don't miss the next video, where I'll reveal the subtle behaviors that instantly make women lose interest, even if they were attracted to you at first.